Oh, hello. We're in Deuteronomy. We're in chapter 24 now. And again, I think we'll do this in two parts, possibly three. Try and get it in two. Because it's quite a short section we're going to do today. We're going to do 24 verses 1 to 5. Because it's all of it related to marriage. So let's read it. Reading as usual from the NIV. So 24 verses 1 to 5. If a man marries a woman who becomes displeasing to him because he finds something indecent about her, and he writes her a certificate of divorce, gives it to her, and sends her from his house, and if, after she leaves his house, she becomes the wife of another man, and her second husband dislikes her, and writes her a certificate of divorce, gives it to her, and sends her from his house, or if he dies, then her first husband, who divorced her, is not allowed to marry her again after she has been defiled. That would be detestable in the eyes of the Lord. Do not bring sin upon the land the Lord your God is given to you as an inheritance. If a man is recently married, he must not be sent to war or have any other duty laid on him. For 1 year he is to be free to stay at home and bring happiness to the wife he has married. So, we'll deal with the first 4 verses because they're obviously a bit different than the 5th verse. And you probably remember that Jesus talked about these verses. The Pharisees came to him and what may have to be the teachers of the law. Let me just check. It's in chapter 19 in Matthew and chapter 10 in Mark. Yeah, it's the Pharisees. And they said to him, is it lawful to divorce one's wife for any reason? Now, at the time of Jesus, there were essentially two schools of thought on this. One said you could you could divorce a woman for virtually anything. If she burnt the toast, you could divorce her. And the other said, no, you can never divorce her. And no doubt there are shades in between that. But look, and then Jesus says, what did Moses say? He said, well, he said you can send a woman away if you give her a certificate of divorce. Now, and Jesus said, Moses said this because the hardness of your hearts. So, let's look, first of all, how man was interpreting this, or at least some of them. So, this means divorce is legal. We can do it. We can get divorced. And particularly those who said you could divorce for any reason. I'm being a good Jew. I'm divorcing my wife. And Jesus later on when he talks about you committing adultery. No, you're not. You're just getting rid of her because you want a younger model. Or something like that. They were using it as an excuse for sin. Now what God was actually doing, and which I've said before, it was mitigating the effects of sin. I've said that once or twice when two of the laws, some of them seem, why's God saying this? And if you're trying to look at, this is an ideal law for an ideal situation, we're never going to understand. Well, if we say, right, God is mitigating the effects, the harm that sin does, which is what he's doing here. Now, there's a couple of general things about divorce. There are 2 things about divorce which it always involves. One is sin, and the other is pain. Now, the fault for the divorce, it can be all sorts of variations. That's very complicated. It can be that one or other party is entirely or almost entirely to blame. It is almost entirely one person's responsibility. Or it can be 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. I.e., the blame is more or less shared between them. And of course you can get all shades in between that. But divorce should never happen. As Jesus said, let no man put asunder, what God has joined, let no man put asunder. But sometimes, because we are sinful people, sometimes it will happen. So for various reasons and various apportioning of guilt. And this was meant that the woman who got... Well, this law was actually for the woman. It worked in her favour. Again, it's another way, because it meant that if she was divorced, she was given a certificate of divorce, it meant she could marry again, and it's accepted that she will quite likely marry again, which is perhaps a point worth bearing in mind if you want to get into debates about divorce and remarriage, which we're not going to get into any more than it talks about here. So this law was given actually to help protect the woman. So again, it's just another point where people say, oh, the Bible, the law is misogynistic. No, it's not. But anyway, and then he talks about, well, what happens if the second husband wants to get rid of her or he dies? One way or another, she becomes available again. And he says the first husband must not marry her. And I've looked at various commentaries and things, and I really haven't found what seems to me a satisfactory explanation or answer for this. But the closest is, I say, that the land must not be defiled. After she has been defiled, do not bring sin upon you, for the land the Lord your God has given to you as an inheritance. Do not bring sin upon the land. But as Jesus said, the key point is marriage is meant to be for life. So the first husband has already divorced this woman. Then you can't take her back again. You're not allowed to do it. It's the seriousness of marriage. It is not something you just dip in and out of. And the sanctity of marriage within a society is a key thing in its prosperity. Society with loads of marital breakdown, as is true in our society, it impoverishes society. Impoverishes society financially, impoverishes the lives of many people. So, we should take that seriously. So let's just talk briefly on that sort of heavy subject. Let's go to the last verse, which is a bit cheerier. It says, for the first year of marriage, man must not be sent to war or any other duty laid upon him. He should be able to devote himself completely to bringing happiness to the wife. And again, just note what it says there. It's to bring happiness to the wife. Again, the Bible's misogynistic. Have you ever read it? It's not the least bit misogynistic. A load of rubbish if you think that. To bring happiness to the wife he has married. And again, it's valuing of marriage. The first part, valuing marriage in the sense that divorce is not a good thing. Here is a more positive valuing of marriage. Society should arrange itself to promote and enhance and support marriage. Amen.